Good morning, everyone. Now, I just want to start off by thanking first my mom for supporting me in everything I do. I love you, Mom. And then also Pastor Michael and Deacon Sonia for teaching me everything I know and being there for me constantly, like my backbone who I can fall back on. Now, today I want to talk to you about walking with God. Now, what I mean by this is having God with you wherever you go, with every decision that needs to be made. It's like having your own personal safe haven. Now, that's the goal for almost every Christian. Can we all agree? Now, getting to that place isn't as easy as it may sound. And the first step is sacrifice. Now, with that said, I want to talk about Jesus. Now, Jesus is the ultimate example for sacrifice. He sacrificed his whole life to spread God's name. And with that, he was, yes, crucified, but also resurrected and is still alive today. Now, Jesus didn't worry about what was going on around him or what everyone else was doing because he had an understanding that God is the only thing that truly matters. Can everyone please turn to Amos 3:3? Give me a little wave when you got there. Now, Amos 3:3 states, "Can two walk together unless they agree?" The answer is no. Now, if we surround ourselves with people or things that don't agree with the same beliefs as us, eventually we're going to fall and give in to those worldly things. Now, sometimes God may need us to sacrifice people or parts of our life in order for him to come into our life completely. Now, considering God is the only thing that truly matters, how come it's so hard for us to put aside what everyone else thinks? Influence is one of the biggest struggles, but we can't let the devil control our thoughts and what we do. We need to get to a place where we don't give in to the devil's influence. Can you say hugs, not drugs? Influence is one of the biggest struggles in a Christian's life. But when we let go of those worldly wants and desires, and let God consume our whole life completely, then all those material things won't seem so important. My next point in walking with God is godly instructions. We must choose a voice to listen to. A voice meaning one. Now, what I mean by this is the enemy and God both can place people in your life, and we have to choose which voice to listen to. For example, God may be placing a pastor or a strong Christian friend in our life who's helping us get our life together and know more about God. At the same time, the enemy could be placing a person in a friend who maybe isn't the best influence and telling us that it's okay to sin or you can go to that one party, do that one drug, it's okay. We need to make a decision as to what God wants us to do and stop taking directions from the devil. We need to get to a place where we are only relying on God and listening to God's wants because, again, he is the only thing that truly matters. Can you please turn to Psalm 56:3? Now, this verse we learned in youth class, and it helped give me an understanding as to how to deal with my emotions during this path or journey in my life, which is to walk with God. Now, Psalm 56:3 states, "When I am afraid, I will trust in you." Now, this means that when we're afraid or doubting in this part of our life, whether we're listening to the right voice or we're going on the right path, then there's going to be doubt and you're going to be scared. But we need to remember that God has our whole life planned out. He doesn't want to see us fail because he wants us to see us fulfill his glory and his purpose for us. So there's no way he wants to see us fall. So remember that when you're going through this journey and trials, that God is always going to be there to catch you when you're about to fall. All you have to do is trust in him. Now, if anyone knew me a year ago or maybe 6 months ago, that I worried and stressed out overwhelmed myself with every little situation that came at me. But Pastor Michael told me that I can't worship and worry at the same time. Now, I was putting my emotions before God, and I was worrying too much about every little thing. But how is that proving to God that He's more important than our material situations and everything here on earth? God is the only thing that matters, and He wants to see that we know that and that we trust in Him. Now, trusting God listening to the voice is an easy thing to do. But then we have to take that word and apply it to our life. We have to give God all of God's instructions and actually use it into our life and not sit around waiting for blessings to happen. Now, I've done this, I'm sure many of you have done this, where I think I sit there in church and I get a good word from a pastor or a good sermon word, and I think I'm going to go home and read the whole Bible tonight. And then when I get home, I don't, because that motivation isn't fully there. We base everything we do, our motivation, off of our emotions, which we can't do. We need to stop putting our emotions before God and doing all these things, these instructions, because of how good God is, not because of how we're feeling at the time. We need to put God first, and because He deserves our time. So make the choice. This leads me into my next point, which is a godly mindset. Now, when we listen to that advice or instructions from God, we have to be open-minded as to what we're hearing. We can't let our pride or our ego get in the way, because then that's just going to stop us from all the blessings we should be receiving. Now, let's think back to Jesus. Now, Jesus did not worry about what the other disciples were doing or what was going on around Him. Jesus knew that this world is only temporary, built to serve our eternal God. Doesn't that mean something, people? God is eternal. He's going to be here now. He's here after we leave into eternity. So we can't waste this precious time worrying about what all these material things and what other people are doing. We need to be worried about God's agenda and what He wants us to do. People, let's just not sit and wait for God to show up in our lives. Just sit and expect a blessing to be placed in our lap. Because if we do, it will never come. Now, I leave you with this. It's all about Jesus. So once we allow God to be seen through us, our lives will be a walking blessing. Thank you.